Developing right now on Morning News Now, dire straits. This morning, President Trump accusing Iran of violating a fragile ceasefire by keeping the critical Strait of Hormuz at a standstill. Meanwhile, overnight, Israel and Lebanon exchanging another round of intense strikes, and Vice President J.D. Vance preparing for peace talks in Pakistan. We will bring you the latest. Also developing, First Lady Melania Trump speaking out against rumors about her relationship with late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump.
Her rare public statement and her message to lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Plus, technological difficulties, AI giant Anthropic sounding the alarm on its own product. Why the company says its latest model is too powerful for the public. And to the moon and back. This morning, the Artemis II crew just hours away from returning to Earth. We will show you the preparations ahead of tonight's big splashdown, plus more incredible photos from their epic lunar mission. I love that. My dad and I always say, love you to the moon and back, and that's literally what they did.
That's what they did. Those 10 days flew by for us. I bet they did for them as well.
Yeah, so incredible.
Good to have you on this Friday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Yeah, there's a little good news. It's Friday. We're going to begin this hour with the latest out of the Middle East ahead of peace talks expected between the U.S. and Iran and Pakistan this weekend.
President Trump is accusing Iran of violating the two-week ceasefire, saying the country did a very poor job of opening that critical Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices are once again climbing, with only a handful of ships passing through the waterway since the U.S., Israel, and Iran struck that ceasefire deal earlier this week. Now, Israel and the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah exchanged new strikes overnight. Already this week, massive Israeli attacks on Lebanon have threatened the shaky ceasefire deal. Israel says it has planned direct talks with Lebanon, but the Lebanese government has yet to respond. We have correspondents overseas and here at home this morning to help us make sense of it all, including the political fallout here at home. Let's start with NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley, who joins us from Tel Aviv with the latest out of the Middle East. Matt, good morning. So with Israel and Hezbollah trading these strikes overnight, are there any possible talks between Israel and Lebanon? They're up in the air. What's the latest on the ground there in Israel?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a really complicated relationship between Hezbollah and the Lebanese government, because Hezbollah still has a lot of seats in the cabinet, in the parliament. So they're very much a part of the government, and the Lebanese government, which is now has not responded to Israel's entreaty for negotiations. The Lebanese government is very weak, particularly compared to Hezbollah. So it is going to be a very delicate diplomatic dance where we see Israel reaching out to the Lebanese government and the Lebanese government committing, presumably, to trying to beat back Hezbollah on behalf of, well, its own public and Israel. So this could be very controversial in Lebanon, and Hezbollah is going to be very, very difficult to dismantle. But we did hear from Israel's chief of staff that Hezbollah has now become the primary military focus of Israel, especially ever since we saw that ceasefire put into place, which now appears to be holding, despite the fact, as you mentioned, that the Strait of Hormuz is not open. Interesting language President Trump using, that they did a very bad job of opening the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians said that they wouldn't open the Strait of Hormuz as long as Israel continued to pummel Lebanon. And now it looks as though we're about to see these negotiations taking place in Pakistan. That could set the tone and tenor for what comes next.
Matt, I want to get more details on those Israeli attacks on Lebanon. Talk us through the impact of the strikes, but also the global response.
Yeah, I mean, this was, according to people in Lebanon, some of the worst attacks by the Israelis that they've seen really in generations. And that's saying a lot, because Israel has, over the course of the past several decades, really taken Hezbollah to task on several occasions. And this one, to have Lebanese people say that this was one of the biggest they've seen, well, that just says something. And we're seeing now well more than 200 people who have been killed over the past couple of days. That number is likely to go up as Israel continues its ground offensive as well in Lebanon. All of this trying to rout out Hezbollah from Beirut and from points north. And we heard yesterday the Israelis saying that Hezbollah was now, basically moving northward, moving into areas that don't necessarily include historically a huge population of Shiite Muslims, which is the main base of support for that militant group. So this is something that could see, based on what we heard from the Israelis, Israel's ground forces moving even further north into the country along with their airstrikes. That could be deeply destabilizing for a country that the Israelis are now trying to bring on board, trying to bring on side.
Now let's talk about something you mentioned a moment ago, that major choke point in these peace talks, the Strait of Hormuz. We've got data from marine traffic, which tracks ships. It says only 5 ships passed through the strait in the strait in the first 24 hours of that ceasefire. What is the U.S. threatening to do if that strait does not fully reopen?
Yeah, and interesting to note that those 5 ships that passed through were not carrying oil or any energy resources. They were just carrying dry goods, basically bulk containers carrying shipments of things, retail items that you could buy. This is not the opening that President Trump had wanted, nor that the region had asked for. And that's why we're starting to hear from the U.S. About taking possible action. But this is probably going to remain in the field of diplomacy, given the fact that we're seeing these negotiations presumably starting on Saturday. This will certainly be one of the headline issues, the issue of the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump has even wildly speculated over the past couple of days that Iran and the United States could join into some sort of grouping together in order to charge ships who are passing through the Strait of Hormuz. That would put the U.S. and Iran an economic partnership or a business partnership together. The whole thing is lacking in specificity at this moment, and it is, as always, unclear exactly what President Trump plans to do when it comes to this critical waterway.
Still a lot of negotiating left to do. All right, Matt Bradley in Tel Aviv. Matt, thank you so much.
And NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joining us now from Washington with more on these upcoming peace talks. Julie, good morning. So Vice President J.D. Vance is leading the U.S. delegation in Pakistan this weekend. What have we heard from the White House in advance of these talks?
Well, the White House made it official, good morning, guys, to you yesterday, saying that J.D. Vance, the vice president, is going to be the point person on this. He's leading a delegation that consists of officials, including Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, and Steve Witkoff, the special envoy. Those two have been involved in talks thus far, but Vice President Vance, as the face of this, sort of elevates things a little bit. This is not only the most consequential series of talks throughout the conflict over the last nearly 6 weeks, but perhaps since the 1970s, since the Islamic Revolution. That's how serious this moment is. And the White House is putting a ton of stock behind Vance. Look, this is somebody who has not necessarily been publicly supportive of this war. We know historically he's been against foreign intervention. He sort of represents that wing of the party. And so I think it's smart both politically and practically for the president to sort of put him in front of this. And as Matt mentioned, those talks are set to begin tomorrow morning in Islamabad.
And Julie, speaking of the president, he told NBC News in an exclusive interview he's very optimistic that a peace deal with Iran is within reach. Did the president seem concerned that these continued Israeli attacks on Lebanon could jeopardize any deal?
Yeah, he's very careful when he speaks publicly, but even in his brief comments to NBC News about it, he did seem a little bit concerned. He did say that he spoke to Benjamin Netanyahu. He also essentially told NBC News that Bibi Netanyahu was scaling back these attacks in Lebanon. Remember, Lebanon is not part of this ceasefire agreement. It's something Caroline Levitt, the White House press secretary, was pushed on as well. And they're not part of it because Netanyahu insisted they not be part of it, given everything that Matt had just mentioned to you. So certainly this is something that is concerning to the president to an extent, but at this point he's willing to sort of leave it on the back burner, engaging instead in these talks with J.D. Vance, who he said he's extremely optimistic about in terms of this point in the conflict, bringing it to a potential end. And certainly that's something the president wants to see, given all of the issues at play, this very fragile ceasefire, and the fact, of course, that the Strait of Hormuz is still not open, a major condition of the president's in the ceasefire agreement.
And Julie, after more than 5 weeks of fighting, the Trump administration has declared the war with Iran a major victory for the U.S. But ahead of these talks, what do we know here about, is the U.S. position better than they were before the war started? Have any of the sometimes confusing stated goals of why we started this war been met?
That's a really good question. Remember when this war first began, the president said it was because of the Iranian people. He wanted them to rise up in the streets. He wanted to support them. He messaged help is on the way. Then it shifted to the stated goal, which in some ways was always the underlying factor of this, right? Iran's nuclear weapons program, but something that the president had claimed for weeks has been obliterated already. Now it is at the point of the Strait of Hormuz, reopening that critical pathway, not only oil and gas, but fertilizer. So much of the agriculture community and farmers here depend on helium, of course, around the world as well. Politically, the time is ticking for the president. We are just months out from the midterm elections. Republicans and Democrats have spent the last 2 weeks, the Easter recess, at home, but they're going to come back into town on Monday. There was a war powers vote effort to try and rein in the president's actions in Iran, pushed by Democrats in the House yesterday. Republicans blocked it, but that doesn't mean there's not fracturing of the party and how they feel about this war, given the rise in prices, given the still potential of further involvement, putting American troops inside the region. Already there have been many casualties. And so this is something that certainly Republicans, members of the president's own party, are starting to run out of patience on, according to my talks with people behind the scenes. So this is definitely a war that the president hopes to end.
All right, Julie Sirkin, thank you.
The Epstein files are back in the spotlight after some unexpected comments by First Lady Melania Trump. She made a statement on the record yesterday at the White House, hoping to clarify her connection to the late convicted sex offender. She denied having any personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein or his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, and she said any accounts claiming otherwise were politically motivated.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. These images and stories are completely false. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing. Then, and only then, we will have the truth.
We should note there is no evidence of any wrongdoing by the Trumps related to Epstein's crimes. NBC's Alice Barr joins us with more on all of this. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. The First Lady condemned fake images and statements about her and Epstein that have spread on social media and what was an unusual for her public message that shifted focus back to a story that has riled her husband. First Lady Melania Trump in a rare public statement knocking down rumors about her ties to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
The First Lady not saying why she's speaking out now. Behind the scenes, her legal team has worked for the past year to take on any publications they viewed as spreading false or defamatory information connecting her to Epstein.
I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump.
She strongly denied any knowledge of Epstein's crimes.
Was never on Epstein's plane and never visited his private island.
Mrs. Trump saying she occasionally crossed paths with Epstein at parties and downplaying this 2002 email released in the Justice Department's Epstein files that she sent to Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, referencing a positive magazine story.
My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence.
The First Lady urging Congress to hold a public hearing for survivors and saying that Epstein did not act alone.
And that means that the entire investigation is legitimate. She needs to call on her husband to get the remainder of the files released.
Republican Thomas Massie putting the onus back on the Justice Department to bring more transparency as the First Lady's comments put a simmering controversy back in the headlines. In a statement, a group of Epstein survivors said the First Lady's remarks, quote, shift the burden onto survivors under politicized conditions and called to keep the focus on former Attorney General Pam Bondi testifying, though the Justice Department has said she will no longer sit for a deposition next week now that she is no longer Attorney General. Joe.
All right, Alice Barr, thank you. For more on this, let's bring in Ben Weeder. He is a Washington correspondent for the Los Angeles Times. He focuses on political investigations. That includes the Epstein sex trafficking story. Ben, good to have you with us to talk more about this. We know the First Lady does not make a lot of public remarks. The handling of the Epstein files has become really a political vulnerability for her husband and his administration. So I guess the most obvious question after watching her statement yesterday is, why do you think she chose to break her silence now?
It raises this sort of inevitable question of, what is she trying to get ahead of? Because logically, it doesn't make sense otherwise. This is the classic version of what people have referred to as the Streisand effect, whereby denying something, you draw more attention to it. The Epstein story was frankly not the front page of most newspapers at this point. It had kind of receded behind news of the war, and by coming out unexpectedly with no heads up to the press about what was coming, Melania thrust it back onto those front pages. And so, logically, you have to think that she thought that the impact of doing that was perhaps, less than the impact might have been of a story or some other news coming out that could have been more damaging. Otherwise, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a public relations perspective. And frankly, the only news plug that is connected to the Epstein story that we were aware of was, that Pam Bondi had been originally supposed to testify next week, which, she is obviously not planning to do at this point. But as I said, otherwise, it had really kind of receded from the front of most people's minds at this point. So it was really kind of a puzzler. And the press in the room, I know, was totally baffled by the statement and had no idea that it was coming.
And Ben, that may even be true according to some reporting of the president. I mean, we've obviously heard him discuss this a lot, call it a Democratic hoax, but there's reporting he didn't know the First Lady was going to make this statement yesterday. What do you make of that?
It is really baffling. I mean, I can't speculate on how their marriage works and the level of communication between the two of them, but it's such an unusual moment to happen. I mean, it is so rare for her to come out. For that to happen without his knowledge is frankly kind of shocking in this moment. And again, the only explanation I can think of for why you would make that statement is as part of some sort of public relations strategy, which again, if you're doing that, you would think that you would be looping in your husband, the president's staff, to tell them about it. So it really is. Really did kind of come out of left field. And listen, I mean, I think it has us all now glued to the news to see if there's any revelation that does drop. I don't know if that was the intended effect, but I think that's what's inevitably happened.
Ben, you've covered this topic for years. What do you know about the nature of the relationship between the Trumps and Epstein and Maxwell?
Well, they absolutely swam in the same circles. I mean, particularly when you think about the modeling world. Jeffrey Epstein, he managed the finances of Les Wexner, the owner of Victoria's Secret. Many people have said that Epstein, frankly, would tell people that he worked for Victoria's Secret, that he was an executive there. He also co-owned a modeling agency with Jean-Luc Brunel, a French modeling scout, which, they were accused of using it more to scout victims than models. But the point is that they were very much in that world. They were at the parties. They were in the same rooms that frankly President Trump and Melania Trump, who at the time was a model herself, would have been in. So they were absolutely in the same social circles. I spoke to Paolo Zampoli yesterday, the guy who's been credited with introducing Donald Trump and Melania, and he said absolutely. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, these were big figures in the scene. If you went to parties, you were going to see these people. It was just the way it went. They were part of the same social group. So it's not at all surprising that they would have come across each other, and obviously they did, as the pictures show, and also that they would have had some form of communication. That doesn't mean they were necessarily friends, but certainly they knew each other, and certainly they were in the same social circles.
We heard this a moment ago from our colleague Alice Barr, who set this up for us with that story. Some reaction from survivors here to these comments of the First Lady's, and I want to read a little bit more. They accused her of shifting the burden onto survivors under politicized conditions that protect those with power, and then listing the DOJ, law enforcement, prosecutors, the Trump administration, saying that they just have not complied with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. There are now calls from Democrats in Congress, even for a First Lady, to testify herself. Where do you think this goes from here, especially given that she herself kind of referenced wanting to see this investigation through in those comments yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think the victims have felt throughout this process as though they have sort of been used as political cover for any number of different people on, on different sides of the aisle with this story. And I think for a lot of the victims, their attitude is, if this story is out there, if our, traumatic experiences are going to be brought back up and exposed to the public, well, maybe can we get some actual truth here? Can we get to the bottom of what actually happened, of why Jeffrey Epstein escaped major punishment, of why so many other potential co-conspirators escaped punishment. And I think, what that statement reflects is the frustration that for all the attention that has been paid to the Epstein files, for all the news stories and all the statements made by politicians, we haven't learned that much more about exactly, why the Justice Department didn't pursue criminal charges against anyone else connected to this. There are still so many unanswered questions. And I think from the perspective of victims, if their, terrible moments from their lives are going to be brought back in front of the public, they'd like to be able to get something from it, some sense of justice that they felt they were denied in the original handling of this investigation.
All right. Ben Weider, good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Well, the U.S. Justice Department is now investigating if the NFL is making fans pay too much in subscription fees. Two government officials familiar with the investigation confirmed the probe, saying it would dig into the league's media deals and how much fans should have to pay to watch games. It comes amid growing frustration, specifically around the cost of the NFL's streaming packages and whether they violate the 1961 Sports Broadcasting Act.
Right now, fans need at least 10 different platforms to watch the entire NFL season. Many of them have paywalls. NBC News reached out to all these platforms. Only Netflix responded to it and declined to comment. The NFL did respond. In a statement, the league said 87% of its games are free on broadcast television, especially in the markets that have teams of their own. It also said the league has always put fans at the center of how it distributes content. The Justice Department did not comment on the probe.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas is here to break this all down for us. Danny, good morning. So I mentioned this 1961 Sports Broadcasting Act. Explain how that law works, as it hasn't been updated since then, as I understand it, and why the NFL might be in violation of it now.
Yeah. It related to broadcast television. Now, you kids may not remember, but there was a time when there were 3 channels, maybe 5.
You had bunny ears, right? The bunny ears?
Absolutely, bunny ears. And the way you corrected it was slapping the top of the TV.
Right.
That was the world that we lived in. And that law is simply ill-prepared to deal with the modern era, where we can watch NFL games on our phones, anywhere, laptops, streaming. There's just so many other options. Now, the law back then, let's take a look at antitrust law. It's simply the idea that if a company or group of companies use their market power to dominate an industry and therefore cause raised prices, because after all, if you own the industry, then you can set the price at whatever you want. If you're the only supplier of oil, eggs, whatever, you set the price at whatever you want. In America, we say it's good capitalism, you make money, but if you make too much and you're too powerful, we don't like it. That's antitrust law. And it gets even more complicated because that 1961 law gave the NFL a bit of a carve out. They said, okay, you can pool your resources, you can pool your footage, your broadcast rights, and sell them as a group. Normally, that would be a huge red flag for antitrust. Group of companies getting together, setting prices, not allowed. But that carve-out is at play here. The problem is it dates back to 1961.
Yeah, reminder, this is just an investigation at this point. You touched on it here. What exactly do you think the DOJ is looking into right now? What is the likelihood we see any sort of legal action against the NFL?
Yeah, they're looking at a lot of very complex rules, because you start out with the general rule of antitrust, which, in my view, varies according to every single industry. How can you say that one industry or company is dominating in a way that is similar to another? So I think every antitrust case is very fact-intensive. But then it gets even more complicated, because the NFL is operating under a carve-out. They're allowed to have some degree of monopoly when it comes to selling their broadcast rights. And by the way, what are broadcast rights in the modern era as compared to 1961, when the intent of the statute dealt with a very, very narrow area? So I think the NFL is roughly in a good position here, because at minimum they can say, look, we're trying to comply with the law. It's not our fault that Congress hasn't updated it since 1961. Go yell at Congress, not us.
What could this mean for other sports leagues?
Well, I think because the NFL is the major player when it comes to TV rights, that's the one that's going to be the bellwether. But the 1961 law applies to other sports leagues. So this is a very important investigation, and we'll all be looking to see what the outcome is.
Danny Savalas, thank you.
Let's get a look now at the New York skyline this morning. It is starting to look and even feel more like spring on the East Coast today, so it seems like the perfect time for your morning News Now weather.
Look at that's like that little angel lighting coming through the clouds. Angie Lastman is here. You soundtrack. Wow, I'm a little happier with you today, Angie.
Oh,
Angie requests that lighting, by the way.
I did. Listen, I'm trying to do whatever I can to make the people of the Northeast happy because let me tell you, they've been filling my inbox with complaints about how cold it was. But I've got good news for, of course, you, Savannah, and Joe, but also everybody else that lives up and down the East Coast. We're going to see our temperatures warm up, and it really starts today for a lot of folks. Here's what we've got on tap here as we get into next week, though. Let's start with the really good news. Notice these temperatures. You wanted it to be warm, so we gave you 92 degrees in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. We've got 80s on tap Tuesday and Wednesday in New York City as well. These will likely be some record highs. Between now and then, we're going to be seeing kind of like a slow, gradual warm up. So here's our temperatures for today. It's going to be a lot better, potentially even above normal across much of the Northeast, stretching across the Ohio and Tennessee valleys, down through the South, and even out west, temperatures in the 70s for our friends in Salt Lake City. Tomorrow, if you're going to be out and about for your Saturday, Washington, D.C., 70 degrees, Cincinnati, 72, mid-80s for Memphis and Jackson. And then we kind of start that real quick warm up that we're going to see for the beginning of next week, where we go from the 70s in Washington, D.C. on Sunday to the upper 80s by Tuesday. That will feel much more typical for this time of year. Meanwhile, out west, we've into the Pacific, really, we've still got some Hawaii flood alerts. We've got additional rain that we're watching. This is going to be problematic for folks across the island chain. Again, we're going to be kind of picking up additional rain on top of what we've already had. So the flooding concern remains, especially across parts of the Big Island. So we're keeping a close eye on that. Otherwise, this weekend, notice we've got some sunshine on tap for Saturday up and down the East Coast. The areas we're going to watch, though, for any impactful weather that could interrupt your plans, really across the midsection of the country, where we've got the chance for some severe storms. Places like West Texas could see that, but the thunderstorms stretch all the way up into the Midwest, and we'll see some additional snow across the Sierra Range as well. And that kind of same pattern continues into Sunday. We'll see anywhere from the Midwest down to Texas have the potential to see some thunderstorms and potentially strong thunderstorms at that. Snow and rain out west, but look at that. Great East Coast.
Into the just
whole
great
lot of sunshine just for you, Savannah Sellers.
No, that's really exciting.
You better have some outdoor plans this weekend.
Yeah, you know what? Yesterday,
yeah,
you were my
upset with
favorite,
me?
and now I love you again.
Did you bring your coat today?
I brought a very light coat.
Right. Good. She listened. Perfect.
I always listen to you. Thanks, Angie. We got much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, manual labor with a high-tech twist. We're going to take it inside one factory where robots are playing an important role and tell you how the shift toward automation is impacting the job market. Up first, though, countdown to splashdown. The Artemis II crew just hours from returning to Earth after their historic lunar mission. We'll get an update as their epic journey comes to an end. That's next. Stay with us. We are back now at the countdown to the return of the Artemis II astronauts. They are set to splash down tonight off the coast of California. Already, U.S. Navy ships are near that target zone, prepared to recover all 4 astronauts after their historic 10-day mission to the far side of the moon. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello, he has covered every moment of this mission. He knows it inside and out, and he joins us with the latest. Tom, this is a critical moment here, especially you're going to tell us about Orion's heat shield and what this is like, this re-entry.
Listen, this is very serious. Keep in mind that the first heat shield on the Artemis I mission, the uncrewed Artemis I mission, the heat shield suffered serious burns and cuts and cracks. They were not happy with how it performed. Now, they have not replaced the heat shield. What they have done is change the angle of descent, hoping that that will reduce the heating as this crew returns to Earth.
This is Mission Control Houston.
Homeward bound after a history-making trip to the moon and back, and bringing home more stunning photographs of their trip. The Artemis II crew in their Orion spaceship, packing and reviewing procedures for their fiery return to Earth.
Now that we know, I feel like we've discovered the last thing we need to discover on this spacecraft.
NASA mission managers say the crew's lives depend on everything going right today. During the first uncrewed Artemis mission, the heat shield suffered significant burns and scarring. NASA didn't change the shield on this mission, but has changed the angle of re-entry to reduce heating time. But for 6 minutes during descent, the crew will be out of radio communication.
In many ways, this is the most dangerous part of the crew's 695,000-mile journey, as Orion comes screaming back to Earth, hitting the atmosphere at about Mach 33, 25,000 miles per hour, 45 times faster than a commercial airliner. The heat on that ship will quickly climb to 5,000 degrees, half the temperature of the surface of the sun. Orion's modified heat shield must hold to protect the astronauts. And then at 22,000 feet, the first parachutes will deploy, slowing Orion from 25,000 to 20 miles per hour and a safe splashdown about 50 miles off the coast of San Diego in the Pacific.
Navy divers will inflate a collar around the spaceship called the front porch.
The astronauts will step out onto a front porch, be pushed off and recovered by the helo squadron, taking the ship.
As they prepare, the crew's sending messages to their families.
I just want to look at my daughters, Ellie and Katie, and just say I love you.
And to any young people watching this historic mission.
We want you to take this and build a vocabulary to explain the world to us.
Yeah, Victor also talking to his own daughters there, 4 daughters, by the way. Splashdown 8:07 p.m. Eastern time off the coast of San Diego. As you saw, the Navy already has ships pre-positioned. We'll have live coverage. I do want to make the point that immediately all 4 astronauts will be taken aboard that recovery ship. They will undergo a medical evaluation. There's a Navy doctor on board. He's also an ER doc. He is expecting some nausea, some vertigo, maybe some dehydration. Not a big deal. They'll then chopper off to San Diego and probably fly back to Houston within just a few hours, back to NASA headquarters, or Space Center, rather, in Houston. It's going to be an exciting time, Savannah.
Oh, it sure is. We know you'll be watching, Tom. Thank you so much. Really important information there. And as Tom mentioned, you can watch this live. We've got this graphic here for you with the information. We'll have live coverage of this splashdown of Artemis II Journey to the Moon tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be right here on NBC News Now. We hope you join us. Let's get you some international news now. We're going to start with a temporary ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Hey, Claudio.
Good morning, Savannah. Well, that's right. On Thursday, Russia's President Vladimir Putin announced a 32-hour ceasefire over the celebrations of Orthodox Easter, which takes place on Saturday and Sunday. Now, Ukraine's President Zelensky said Kyiv would abide to the measure and wrote on social media that people need an Easter without threats and a real move towards peace, and that Russia has a chance not to return to attacks even after Easter. But questions remain over how effective it will be, as last year both Ukraine and Russia accused each other of violating a similar ceasefire over the Easter holidays. Let's go now to Greece, where a new law will ban access to social media platforms for kids 15 and under. Greece is the latest country to limit access to underage kids to social media, following Australia's example. In a video posted on social media on Wednesday, the Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis told kids the ban is for their own good because endless hours on social media, he said, causes stress, anxiety and sleeplessness. Mitsotakis also said the new law is expected to be introduced this summer and will come into effect on January 1st next year. And let's end this tour of the world in South Korea, where K-pop band sensation BTS kicked off their world tour, and it was a downpour, and not only of emotions. Heavy rain battered the stadium during the concert, but it did not dampen the spirit of the band and thousands of fans. Singer Jimin told the audience the weather had left him frustrated and stressed, but what's important is that they were all there, all together, Savannah.
Oh, my goodness. People are excited about that. Claudio, thank you so much. Well, coming up, tech giant Anthropic raising concerns about its own product, why the company says its latest AI project is too powerful to release to the public. This is Morning News Now. Well, Welcome back. Experts and software engineers are warning that artificial intelligence developer Anthropic's newest AI model could pose serious cybersecurity risks and be a dangerous resource for criminal hackers. Now, Anthropic claims the new model, it's called Claude Mythos Preview, was able to detect thousands of critical bugs and software defects in most major operating systems and browsers, some that had been hidden, not able to be detected for decades. Now, the company decided not to release it to the general public this week due to those safety concerns. Instead, it limited access to major tech companies, including the ones that we're showing you here on your screen, so they could strengthen their cyber defenses. It is part of a new effort called Project Glasswing. Anthropic is giving over 50 tech companies access to this new model so they can find and fix those vulnerabilities. We're joined now by NBC News AI fellow Jared Perlow. He recently did some reporting on this. He's following these developments for us. Jared, good morning. Love your reporting on this. It's been fantastic so far. We're going to get to that new initiative in just a moment that I just mentioned, and actually we have even some news that's developed overnight on that. But first, let's talk about this. Anthropic's new Mythos Preview model. Now, the company, they did not give a lot of details on these security vulnerabilities that it was able to identify, but what can you tell us that we know about and these issues that it uncovered?
Absolutely. So Claude Mythos Preview is the latest model in Anthropic's Claude family of AI models. So Anthropic, major competitor to OpenAI. People might be familiar with OpenAI's chatbot like ChatGPT. Anthropic's version is called Claude. Every couple of months or so, they release a new model, and Mythos Preview is the latest one. However, when they were doing their internal testing, pre-deployment, basically before releasing it to the public, they realized that it was really powerful to a scary degree, especially on cybersecurity issues. So they basically said, we think that we're playing with some sort of new fire here. Before we release it to the public, we want to make sure that tech companies can shore up their defenses. So as you mentioned, they discovered thousands of new critical and high severity cyber vulnerabilities. So these aren't little issues. These are really significant.
What does that mean?
So there's a 27-year-old bug that they found in one system that has to do with firewalls. You know, systems that are in everything from the phones we use, computers we use, different like email servers. That bug had been sitting here for 27 years. There's another one that was there for 16 years. Anthropic basically told the model, depending on, with some instructions from the software engineers, go find vulnerabilities, help us find the bugs, and they found those bugs. So that's something we haven't seen before.
And so the concern here would be that if somebody is a bad actor, they could say the same thing to this model, go find those bugs, and then exploit those bugs and hack a system.
Exactly. Hack systems, hack power grids, planes, anything that uses software. And I think it's kind of remarkable that a private company found this and decided not to release it publicly. I mean, imagine if a state actor, like someone from China or someone from Russia, even a bad actor maybe in America found this, they could have wreaked havoc, maybe held secure systems for ransom. So I think that's a huge part of the story.
Because put in context for us how big of a deal it is for an AI company to not release a model that they know is better and they know is going to mean people are signing up or people are using their product.
Yeah, so this is the first time this has happened publicly in 7 years. So this happened 7 years. OpenAI refused to release its early chatbot called ChatGPT-2. GPT-2 is the model there because they thought it was too dangerous. That was 7 years ago. It turns out that it really couldn't do things in the real world. It looks like Claude Mythos Preview actually can. Now, I should say viewers should take this with somewhat of a grain of salt.
Totally. I was just going to ask, is there any way that we know for sure that Anthropic, what they're saying, is in fact true?
To some degree, yes. To some degree, no. So they released some limited details online, but because some of these bugs are so severe, they say that they're going to take 135 days after they notify the owners of the relevant software packages, hey, we found a bug, you have to fix it. So they're going to give them 135 days, then we'll learn more. But until then, I mean, there is some chance that, I mean, it's a great marketing campaign. We're talking about it right now. People throughout government, throughout private industry are freaking out about it, and they're saying, whoa, what are we playing with here? That said, the software engineers I talked to say that this is the real deal.
Okay. So, I mean, marketing or not, or conversation or not, it's good that the flag has been raised. There's some news overnight, even the concern, so much so in the government, that we're seeing Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent take action on this.
Exactly. Scott Bessent and then also Jerome Powell, who's chairman of the Fed. Apparently, there was some sort of briefing. This is reporting from Bloomberg. There's more coming out right now. But apparently, they were briefed on this by Anthropic. They found out about how powerful this model was. And on Tuesday, they apparently called together the CEOs of all of America's most important banks, basically saying, we think that your banks might be about to be inundated with cybersecurity attacks. Are you ready? Can America's financial system withstand these attacks? So that's, I mean, when those people get involved, you know that it's probably beyond the marketing hype and something real is going on here. So that's something definitely to watch.
So real quick, Jared, this leads us to Project Glasswing and what Anthropic is doing and who they are releasing this to. Tell us that.
Yeah, so Project Glasswing is this project from Anthropic to give the advanced access to around 50 tech companies, basically saying, before we release this publicly, we want to give you a chance to patch the security vulnerabilities in your system. So this is companies like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, who traditionally might even be Anthropic's rival. So when Anthropic starts working with some other players in the tech company, you know that there's something going on here, probably.
Jared Perlow, fascinating and concerning. Thank you so much. Good to have you with us as always.
Fun to watch. Thanks.
Coming up on Morning News Now, robots taking the man out of manual labor.
You can throw your back out. You can get sick. Digit doesn't have to worry about any of that.
Digit doesn't have to worry about that. Digit doesn't have as many knee problems as we do.
Up next, we're going to show you the technology that's already being put to work and how it could impact the job market. We'll be right back. We're back with a look at how humanoid robots equipped with artificial intelligence are filling a critical need in the job market. Some factories in the U.S. are already using robots for manual labor. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung went to one factory in South Carolina to check it out for himself.
The robots are on the roads, in the streets, performing on stage, even in the White House, and now in the workplace too, as companies increasingly turn to humanoid robots to fill jobs. In Cheraw, South Carolina, auto parts manufacturer Schaeffler employs about 750 people and a couple of robots too. This is Digit, 5'7", 205 pounds. It's made by Agility Robotics, where Curran Kokar works.
Why design it like a human? I think one of the reasons is it's easier for a robot to fit into a human workspace so that the workspace need not be modified.
Digit's commute just a few steps from its charging pad to a stack of metal baskets, each one carrying 25 pounds worth of auto parts from a stamping press. It squats down, pinches the edges of the basket, walks a few feet away, and places the basket onto a conveyor belt to be fed into a huge washing machine to clean the parts.
So Digit over here has arms and hands and legs just like us, but its eyes are not quite on the top of its head. It actually has a LiDAR sensor in its neck and a camera on its chest to figure out how high to elevate it when it puts it onto the conveyor belt.
Dave Kerr, Schaeffler's president of humanoid robotics, says all of this used to be done by a human.
And so what happened to that person that used to be doing that job?
That particular person was reskilled. So reskilled to, we would call it upskilling to a more favorable job or a higher tech job.
Schaeffler's plan is to use robots like Digit across its 100 plants in monotonous, repetitive, often physical jobs.
So we expect our employment to remain quite the same, and we will move folks up, the humans up, and we will bring in and backfill them with these humanoid bots.
In the workplace, that will mean displacement, not necessarily replacement, says Indeed economist Laura Ulrich.
There's no doubt that the lowest level of tasks that robots will be able to do first will displace some lower skilled, lower wage workers, and hopefully companies will upskill those workers or reskill them so that they can remain employed in the company.
The bigger threat to jobs right now may be in desk jobs, where the sweeping adoption is happening for tools like ChatGPT or Claude in corporate America. A Deloitte report this year said nearly 3 in 4 companies say they plan on implementing autonomous AI agents within 2 years. Robots as part of our daily lives, long part of pop culture.
And I love you people too.
And also sci-fi dystopia.
Why do you give them faces?
But now some analysts say the world really should brace for a world full of humanoid robots. UBS estimates more than 2 million humanoids will live among us by 2035, with that number exploding to 300 million by 2050. Manufacturing has long utilized robots to help make grueling physical jobs a bit easier. And more recently, companies like Amazon tapping robot fleets to do heavy lifting in warehouses.
We have over 1 million unfilled positions right now, but we've got an aging population. We've got demand for more manufacturing happening in the U.S. and not enough people to do it.
This is Apollo.
Other humanoid makers are in the robot race to staff up manufacturing plants. Mercedes-Benz is teaming up with Apptronik, and Hyundai is working with Boston Dynamics. The company famously known for its dog-like robot named Spot, which also inspired this nightmare-fueling Black Mirror episode, says robots aren't ready for the home just yet.
Going into the home is a mistake. We want to go into factories first, then work towards consumer-facing service industries, and then go into the home.
Back at Scheffler, engineer Courtney Bain says Digit's power is its mechanic reliability.
You can throw your back out, you can get sick. Digit doesn't have to worry about any of that.
Digit doesn't have to worry about that. Digit doesn't have as many knee problems as we do.
Even if it takes some breaks, just like us.
When humans are on their lunch break, the robot is not running.
So I guess Digit takes a lunch break too, like everybody else.
In a way, yes.
Brian Chung, NBC News.
All right, Brian Chung, that was pretty cool. Let's get you some other money news now. The Postal Service has taken some new steps to avoid running out of cash. NBC News business and economy reporter Ali Canal has our Money Minute. Hi, Ali. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Savannah. Yeah, I mean, this really shows just how tight things are getting here. And here's what we know so far. The U.S. Postal Service is halting some pension payments to conserve cash, warning it could run out of money as soon as February without reforms. The agency says the temporary move could free up about $2.5 billion this year and won't impact current retirees in the short term, but it does raise bigger questions about longer-term financial stability and whether more changes could be coming for the postal carriers hiking bag fees, with the first checked bag now costing up to $50 at the airport. That's about $10 more than before. The airline says it's adjusting pricing in a tougher operating environment as higher fuel costs from the Iran war continue to squeeze the industry. And finally, things are heating up at Taco Bell. The company is rolling out new Diablo-dusted chicken nuggets, turning its popular hot sauce into a coating for the very first time. It comes as Taco Bell looks to keep driving menu innovation and that fan buzz, with more items like a butter chicken taco and other nugget variations expected later this year. Are you a spicy gal?
I'm not. Are you?
I do like a little spice.
I'm not a spice. I wish I was, and I've gotten better than I used to be, but I am a Taco Bell gal.
I mean, who doesn't love a good Crunchwrap Supreme?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever tried to like make it at home? You know, that's all over TikTok.
Yes, I have tried to make it at home.
Disaster. Not worth it.
It's never as good
as
Taco Bell. Leave it to the professionals.
Exactly. Thank you. All right, it's day 2 at Augusta, and the Masters is already heating up. Defending champion Rory McIlroy is coming off his best opening round in years, sharing an early lead with 29-year-old Sam Burns. Mother Nature also getting into this game, teeing up what could be the first rain-free tournament in 25 years. That's crazy. Now, while conditions may seem ideal, though, a dry course means firm greens, a fast track, and frayed nerves. NBC News sports reporter Rohan Nadkarni joins us now with what to watch as the action continues today. Good morning. Thanks, as always, for being with us, Rohan. So let's start with this leaderboard. Rory McIlroy out front early. What's working for him so far? You think he can keep that momentum going?
Yes, man. I would honestly say it's his confidence that's really been great for him. You know, he said something along the lines of, you win this tournament once, it almost feels like it's easier to win it a second time. I think he's someone who's coming in with a lot of confidence after winning last year. These fast greens, I think, really benefit a tactical golfer like him, someone who's really smart, someone who knows how to, you know, play the right shots, hit the ball at the right distance. I think it really favors a really cerebral golfer like Rory McIlroy.
Let's talk about the #1 player in the world, Scottie Scheffler. He's starting off well, tied for 6th. He's 2 strokes under par. Tell us what you think of his game so far and who else we should be watching.
Yeah, I mean, Scottie Scheffler's been great. To your point, he's one of the top golfers in the world. This is, of course, it's really benefited, I think, the great golfers, unsurprisingly. I would say another couple names to keep an eye on, Justin Rose. He was also in the playoff with Rory McIlroy last year. He's in the top 10. Patrick Reed, he's been playing great golf so far this series, already won a couple tournaments, a previous green jacket winner in 2018. I think you're looking at the players who've had experience on this course, who've won the Masters before. A few of them are already back in the top 10. So it seems to be that combination of experience and really strategic golf that's helping some of these players so far.
One thing, of course, we got to talk about, we're not going to be seeing Tiger Woods on the course this year after recent events. How much does that absence change just like the energy at Augusta?
You know, I think it's a real tangible feeling. I mean, I don't think there's really a course or a golfer that there's no really relationship like it in sports. You know, Tiger Woods and the Masters, so many golfers spoke about it this week. So many of them said Tiger Woods is their hero. Watching with the Masters, whether it was in 97, in 2001, in 2019, inspired so many of the people playing today to take up golf professionally. So it's definitely weird not to have his absence. No Phil Mickelson, too. It's the first time both of them have missed this tournament in over 30 years. So there's definitely a strange feeling without him there, considering how much he's meant to the tournament.
Also, I mentioned the forecast and the weather here. Super dry, could make the course even more difficult. How do you think that impacts play? Who could maybe also benefit from that? Like, who's good under those conditions?
Yeah, absolutely. These are very fast greens. I mean, this is not a situation where you just line up on the tee and hit the ball as far as you can every single time down the course. You're really going to have to play the speed of these greens. I mean, I know it sounds obvious because he's near the top of the leaderboard, but someone like Rory McIlroy, I think it's really going to benefit the guys who are a little bit more patient, who know when to be aggressive, when to put some spin on the ball. So I'm looking at guys like Rory McIlroy, Justin Rose. They were in the playoff last year, so it might seem a little obvious, but those are the two players I think you really should keep an eye on moving forward.
All right, Rohan Nadkarni, always great for joining when you're here. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Good morning and good news. It's Friday. Thanks for being here. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer right now on Morning News Now. Under threat, President Trump firing off claims that Iran isn't holding up its end of that ceasefire bargain, with the vital Strait of Hormuz still effectively siphoned off. Meanwhile, Israel levying fresh attacks on Iranian-backed militants in neighboring Lebanon overnight, throwing an already shaky deal further into question. It's all ahead of this weekend's critical peace summit in Pakistan, with Vice President J.D. Vance on the guest list. The latest in a moment. Back home, we're expecting our first glimpse at how the war is impacting everyday Americans as folks grapple with soaring price tags across the board. But could that shaky ceasefire actually offer up some relief for your bottom line? We are watching your wallet. Plus, countdown to splashdown. The intrepid crew of Artemis II hard at work this morning, preparing for their emotional return to Earth mere hours from now. We've got an exclusive look at re-entry, moment by moment, as those 4 NASA astronauts usher in a bold new era of space exploration. Let's begin this hour with the countdown to the return of the Artemis II astronauts. They're set to splash down tonight off the coast of California.
Yeah, U.S. Navy ships are already near target zone, waiting to recover all 4 astronauts after their 10-day mission to the far side of the moon. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has covered every moment of this mission, and he joins us now with the latest. Tom, this is also a critical moment for Orion's heat shield, we know.
Yeah, so this is a critical day and a critical test of that heat shield, because you may remember that on the first Artemis I uncrewed mission, the heat shield suffered significant scarring and burning. NASA was not happy with it, but essentially this is the same heat shield. So to change it up, to hopefully protect the astronauts, they are coming in at a different rate of descent as they return to Earth.
This is Mission Control Houston.
Homeward bound after a history-making trip to the moon and back, and bringing home more stunning photographs of their trip. The Artemis II crew in their Orion spaceship, packing and reviewing procedures for their fiery return to Earth.
Now that we know, I feel like we've discovered the last thing we need to discover on this spacecraft.
NASA mission managers say the crew's lives depend on everything going right today. During the first uncrewed Artemis mission, the heat shield suffered significant burns and scarring. NASA didn't change the shield on this mission, but has changed the angle of re-entry to reduce heating time. But for 6 minutes during descent, the crew will be out of radio communication.
In many ways, this is the most dangerous part of the crew's 695,000-mile journey, as Orion comes screaming back to Earth, hitting the atmosphere at about Mach 33, 25,000 miles per hour, 45 times faster than a commercial airliner. The heat on that ship will quickly climb to 5,000 degrees, half the temperature of the surface of the sun. Orion's modified heat shield must hold to protect the astronauts. And then at 22,000 feet, the first parachutes will deploy, slowing Orion from 25,000 to 20 miles per hour, and a safe splashdown about 50 miles off the coast of San Diego in the Pacific.
Navy divers will inflate a collar around the spaceship called the front porch.
The astronauts will step out onto a front porch, be pushed off and recovered by the Hilo Squadron, taking the ship.
as they prepare, the crew sending messages to their families.
I just want to look at my daughters, Ellie and Katie, and just say I love you.
And to any young people watching this historic mission,
we want you to take this and build a vocabulary to explain the world to us.
Again, splashdown 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time off the coast of San Diego. On station already, a Navy ship, and they have a medical team standing by on that ship, led by a lieutenant commander who's an ER doctor. He's expecting the crew may experience some nausea, some vertigo, that kind of thing, some dehydration, nothing serious. They would then chop her off to San Diego and fly back to NASA in Houston. Again, 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll all be watching closely. Back to you.
All right, Tom, thank you.
So let's get some perspective from former NASA astronaut Mike Massimino, the author of Moonshot. He has logged nearly 600 hours in space, more than 30 hours on spacewalks, and he's just fun to have around. All right. So we have, people wondering about these risks with the reentry, with the splashdown. What are the risks? What should we be paying attention to?
No, there are risks, but I think they're going to be just fine. Obviously, they wouldn't be there if there was doubts that anything would happen. But there's three major things, what my friend Victor Glover has called three mini miracles. And the first one is that they got to hit the entry corridor exactly, precisely at the right time, at the right angle. There can't be any misalignment there. They've got to be perfectly aligned and hit that corridor, kind of like the tunnel home. They've got to hit that perfectly. The second thing that has to happen is the heat shield has to work, and we can talk more about that if you'd like, but the heat shield has to slow them down from about 25,000 miles an hour when they hit the atmosphere to about 300 miles an hour. And it does that through friction in the atmosphere, which generates about 5,000 degrees of heat outside of the spacecraft. So it's like a big light show going on outside of the orange, red, hot gas going by them as they heat up, as they go through the atmosphere. And then the third mini miracle is that the chutes have to work. There's 11 of them total. They come out in 4 different stages. The final 3 are the big ones that come out at the end that'll slow them down to about 20 miles an hour when they hit the water. So those are the 3 major things that happen in about 13 minutes when they start hitting the atmosphere to slow down.
Sounds like a lot.
No, it's a lot, but I mean, there's a lot of smart people that have worked on this, and it's been tested on Artemis 1. I think they're going to be just fine. There's always that thing that you might not have thought about, that beyond your imagination that could happen. But I think they've thought of everything, and they've inspected the heat shield. The spaceship's working really well. So I'm very confident they're going to be okay.
I think a lot of people just cannot believe the speed that they're going to be going.
It's fast.
You yourself have re-entered Earth's atmosphere at over 17,000 miles per hour.
Yeah, a little bit. It depends on your height. So like so Mach 25 is the speed typically you come in from low Earth orbit. But that was kind of slow, Joe and Savannah.
The 17,000?
No. This is what you speed up when you're coming in. So the speed record is set when you come in because you're going really fast, but as you approach the Earth and it pulls you in, you actually speed up before you slow down.
Right.
So that's when the current speed record is a little faster than what these guys did. It was one of the Apollo missions. I forget which one. They had the speed record. They thought they might break that speed record, but they're not. They're going to come pretty close to it.
Yeah, 25-ish thousand miles an hour.
So we were slow. Coming from low Earth orbit is slower. We were at Hubble, it was 100 miles higher, so we actually went Mach 26 when
what
we
does
came
that
in.
feel like, Mike? we don't understand.
So it's different between low Earth orbit and coming back from the moon. Low Earth orbit is more gradual. Okay. The max G you're going to get, you're going from 0 Gs to about a little over 1. It goes to 1, and then a little over that, and then you settle in at 1. These guys are coming in straighter, right? So it's not going to be as much as they had on Apollo. On Apollo, I think they had like 6 Gs coming in. It was a straighter entry. What they're going to do is they kind of do you might have heard it, it's a little skip they're going to do. So what that does is they're going to come in, their G spike is going to be, when they hit the atmosphere, it's about 4 Gs for about 40 to 60 seconons. Then they're actually going to lift up a little bit.
Well, what does 4 Gs feel like?
Okay, great. So 4 Gs, whatever you weigh.
I've done 4 Gs. I can handle that.
Okay, it's not that bad. So
7 or 8 is when I passed out.
6 and 7. Yeah, 6 and 7 is where you got to be careful because that's when the blood starts coming out of your head. Yeah. But what they're doing is they're on their back, so they're taking that G-force in the chest. Okay, so it's whatever you weigh. You don't have to say it. Whatever you weigh, multiply it by 4. Okay.
Okay.
And that's what you're going to be feeling.
Wow.
Right. Now, but the bigger difference for them, the feeling of it, they're going from 0 to that. So if we went from 1 to 4 Gs, we would feel that. But they're kind of attuned right now for the last 10 days being in 0 G. So it's going to seem much heavier for them. But it's not anything. It's not anything painful. It's not going to do any damage.
Just hearing about that.
You've just got to, yeah. So that's going to be what their G-forces are like. They're going to see. They're going to. I think that I'm not sure exactly what they'll be able to see out of their windows, but what they'll probably see is a dark sky in space going to the blue sky of our atmosphere, going to the ocean, which is kind of cool.
That's cool.
So, and they'll be hearing like their pyrotechnic events with the chutes deploying. They'll get a jerk from the chutes too when they come out.
Okay, let's talk about nice stuff. Okay. We've had these 10 incredible days. What were the biggest successes of this?
I think the rocket working, that was great. Their launch, that was just for a few minutes really, though, out of the whole thing. The checkout of the spacecraft was really important, and it seems to have performed really well, so that's great. The Orion spacecraft did its job. Now, we need a little more to get them back. The flyby of the moon, that's what I was looking forward to the most, and the way that they described it. So typically you see really cool stuff in space, but your job isn't to report it. I mean, you tell people about it after, but you're usually doing something else. Their job was to make these observations and tell us about it, which kind of, for me, felt like we were along there with them. I don't know how you guys felt about it watching it.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like you were in a cockpit. Plus, all four of them, they're very conscientious about their job. So they have trained for years to do a good job during that flyby. But they're also very good communicators. All four of them they're great people. And they gave us a great description coming around. But for me, really, the highlight was just that it showed some of the personal moments, the relationships, the professionalism, the communication, the respect, and the love for each other that, as an astronaut, for me, that was the highlight of that job, was the friendships I had, and not just with the crew, but with the control team on the ground. And
They're
I think
so
that
cute.
came out.
Can you just look at them all together in these pictures? No, I'm dying.
When they named the crater after Reed's wife.
Crying.
I mean, that's something I think we all
Carol
can relate
Crater.
to, and I think that was kind of an inside look at what it is like to love your colleagues and work together at something that's bigger
And
than
they were
all of you.
all emotional over that.
Yeah, Jeremy and Reed were astronaut classmates in 2009. I was still at NASA. I was still at NASA when all of them joined, so I got to know all of them, and I'm friends with all of them. I really love all of them. They're a great group of people, and for that moment, particularly those two have known each other since they started their training all those years ago. I think that's something everyone can appreciate.
It's been really sweet too. Also, just like the internet is in love with the four of them and the four of their relationship, and it's so sweet.
But you see what happens when you get back.
I am quickly going to go back to the scary stuff because we have a request direct from the control room. Our executive producer
Mission
must
control.
know
Our
mission control, our version, if re-entry is bumpy.
For the bump will be when you hit the atmosphere, they'll get a jolt.
Like
it's more of a jolt than it is. The launch is more like that. The launch is more shaking because you have the solid rocket boosters, which run rough. So they're going to get a pretty big jolt when they hit the atmosphere, and that's when that 4Gs hits. It's also around that time we're going to lose communication with them for about 6 minutes. So it's about 13 minutes of entry interface until splashdown.
I don't like that losing communications thing.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. It'll be okay. It's just what happens. But I think they're going to be just fine. So the jolts, it's more of a jolt. And then they're going to have kind of a second jolt when they kind of back off a little bit. The reason they do that little skip that you might have heard of, where it's not just one big entry, it's going to be, all right, we're going to back off a little bit. That reduces the heat load on the vehicle, and it also reduces the G on the crew. This is a good thing. And then they're going to have another bump. They're going to have another spike, what they call a G spike. So it'll go boom up to 4 Gs again for a little bit. And then when the chutes come out, I think they're going to get a jerk from those as well. So the chutes will jerk them. There's first 3 of them come out to slow them down. Then another 2 come out to kind of right the ship. Then another 3 what they call pilot chutes come out to deploy the main chute. So 11 chutes have to deploy, and there'll be 4 events where the pyrotechnics will hit, and so it'll get a jerk that way as well.
Live?
Yeah,
Cool.
It's Friday night television tonight, so tune in.
Mike Massimino, thank you so much.
We love you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to move now to the latest out of the Middle East ahead of peace talks that are expected between the U.S. and Iran in Pakistan on Saturday. Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, fell quiet today as authorities locked down the city in preparation for these high-stakes negotiations. Security checkpoints are now set up across the city as Vice President J.D. Vance travels there today for this weekend's talks with the Iranian delegation. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk joins us from Tel Aviv with the very latest. Steph, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. It's quiet here in Tel Aviv as well. But Israel keeps striking Lebanon and the militia group Hezbollah, which is responding with rocket fire. Now, the Iranian Foreign Ministry is threatening to pull out of these negotiations altogether if Israel doesn't stop.
This morning, the ceasefire holds, but it's shaky. As the clock ticks down to talks this weekend, among the thorniest issues, Israel's ongoing strikes in Lebanon, targeting, it says, the Iran-backed militia Hezbollah. After a massive bombardment Wednesday killed more than 300, according to Lebanese health officials. Hezbollah returning fire into northern Israel last night, bomb sirens even sounding in Tel Aviv. Iran's leaders say Lebanon is an inseparable part of the newly brokered ceasefire, something the U.S. and Israel dispute, threatening to unravel the agreement as the White House team gets set to meet Iranian officials in Pakistan for talks this weekend. President Trump tells NBC News he spoke with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about Lebanon. They're scaling back, he said, adding Netanyahu is going to low-key it. Netanyahu later announced new peace talks with the Lebanese government, but also said, quote, there is no ceasefire in Lebanon. We continue to strike Hezbollah with force. His foreign advisor speaking out.
The Hezbollah terrorists will not have immunity.
While the Strait of Hormuz remains all but shut down, Iran is supposed to guarantee safe passage through the vital waterway as part of the ceasefire deal. President Trump posting, Iran is doing a very poor job, dishonorable, some would say, of allowing oil to go through the Strait of Hormuz. That is not the agreement we have. Just 5 ships made it through the strait Thursday, Iran officials blaming it on the war.
Those technical restrictions are very much connected to the wartime condition, and it takes time to be removed.
The uncertainty shooting oil prices near $100 a barrel, and the average price of gas in the U.S. sits at $4.15 a gallon. Getting more tankers through the strait set to be a key issue in this weekend's negotiations.
Despite the significant challenges, President Trump says he is, quote, very optimistic about the negotiations this weekend. He went on to tell NBC News that the Iranian negotiators are very different behind closed doors, he said, than in the public and in the press. He said they are much more reasonable. Savannah?
All right, Steph, thank you.
The Trumps are facing renewed scrutiny over their ties to Jeffrey Epstein after the First Lady broke her silence in a rare public address. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us now with the details on that. Gabe, good morning.
Joe, good morning. This statement was completely unexpected and so tightly held that some of the First Lady's staffers didn't even know what she would say. So why now? First Lady's senior advisor would only tell us that she decided to speak out because, quote, enough is enough. And the lies must stop. Melania Trump walked up to the cameras and got straight to the point.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
The First Lady forcefully denying any knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and downplaying any personal connections to him.
Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach.
Over the past year, Mrs. Trump's legal team has aggressively tried to fight back against what they saw as false and defamatory rumors connecting her to Epstein.
I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island.
Her name is mentioned more than 100 times in the Epstein files, including this email she sent to Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell in 2002, complimenting the couple on a flattering magazine story.
My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence.
The First Lady's statement reigniting interest in a controversy that has frustrated President Trump, but had recently faded from the headlines.
This is a Democrat hoax that never ends.
MS Now reporting that the president said in a brief phone call that he did not, quote, know anything about her statement beforehand. Now the First Lady is calling on Congress to allow Epstein survivors to testify under oath.
Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth.
In response, a group of a dozen Epstein survivors are accusing the First Lady of deflecting responsibility, and they want former Attorney General Pam Bondi to go before Congress. So far, the White House has not commented on how much the president knew about the First Lady's announcement beforehand, or whether the president agrees with her that Epstein survivors should testify. Joe.
All right, Gabe, thank you. Take a look outside at the plaza now, because yes, finally warming up a bit on the East Coast today. So let's get a closer look at what to expect as we head into the weekend with your Morning News Now weather.
Angie Lassman, help me out.
Yeah.
Inflate Gabe.
Honestly, I also like sports. Can the ladies join, gentlemen? Can we? Crickets? No.
Always
okay.
welcome.
All right. How about I talk about science instead? Do you guys want to hear that? Because
Yes.
we've got cheers in the studio because spring temperatures have finally arrived for a lot of folks that have been waiting for them. 70s across parts of the Northeast today. Notice Cincinnati, 77 degrees. We've got 75 in Springfield, 80s across parts of the South. Albuquerque, you're going to hit 80 degrees on the mark today. Great conditions for folks to be outdoors, especially in some of these spots. You're going to have plenty of sunshine into the weekend. 84 in Atlanta tomorrow, low 70s in Cincinnati. Washington, D.C. tops out at 70. And then we really start this kind of significant warm up as we roll through the end of our weekend and into the upcoming work week. Notice the low 70s on Sunday in D.C., but we get into those upper 80s by Tuesday. It's going to be quite warm, fairly, close to summer-like conditions in some spots as we head into the middle of next week. But before we get to that, we've got kind of these thunderstorms that are going to ramp up, and these severe chances of storms are also going to kind of take off here as we get into tomorrow specifically. We've got multiple days. Notice this Saturday all the way through next Wednesday where we have this chance of severe weather. This is going to be a multi-day threat, and it will be on the move as that system works to the east. So Saturday, if you're in West Texas or parts of New Mexico, hail, wind gusts, low risk of tornadoes. We look ahead to Sunday. This shifts a little farther to the east. Still Texas stretching up into Kansas, though. The wind gusts and the hail, and now a couple of tornadoes possible. And even as we get into next week, this is Monday through Thursday, we really ramp up the size of that severe weather that we're going to be watching. Stretching from the Midwest all the way down to the south. This is Monday. Tornadoes will be likely, damaging winds, large hail. That lasts into Tuesday as well, guys. You can see from the Great Lakes down to the south, we'll be talking about this. So really kind of a time as we get into the weekend to kind of find your severe weather plan and make sure you have a way to get those alerts, we always say.
Very good. Thank you, Angie.
You got it. More to come on this Friday edition of Morning News Now, including our first look at how the ongoing war with Iran is impacting wallets here at home.
First, though, after the break, an American woman vanishing at sea in the Bahamas. Her husband now behind bars. The new details surrounding the couple's allegedly shaky past. That's up next.
We are back now with new developments in a growing mystery at sea. A Michigan man remains under arrest after claiming his wife fell overboard during an evening sail in the Bahamas. This morning, we are learning more about the couple's alleged rocky relationship. NBC News correspondent George Solis is in the Bahamas for us with more. George, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. So Brian Hooker's attorney tells us he's been arrested, but he has not been formally charged, and that he is cooperating with authorities. She also tells me he told her that he has been injured while in their custody and is now seeking medical treatment.
This morning, we're learning new details about the days following the disappearance of Lynette Hooker, an American woman who vanished at sea. Her husband, Brian Hooker, is currently under arrest in the Bahamas in connection with the case. Thursday night, his attorney revealing to NBC News he told her that while in their custody, authorities took him to his boat, the Soulmate. She says he told her he was handcuffed when he fell into the water, injuring his knee. The Bahamian police force not commenting on the incident. The attorney also saying Brian Hooker was questioned by police for 3 hours as a witness before he was officially taken into custody.
He is anxious to defend himself.
All this as we're learning more about the couple's relationship. NBC News obtaining a 2015 police report where they accused each other of assault. According to the report, Brian was intoxicated and had blood coming from his nose, telling police his wife Lynette struck him in the face. Lynette accusing her husband of hitting and choking her. Mrs. Hooker arrested, but a warrant was later denied over insufficient evidence as to what started the assault. The couple were experienced sailors and had been documenting their life on social media. Brian Hooker told officials Lynette fell overboard Saturday and was swept away by strong currents. An NBC News drone capturing the couple's vessel Soulmate now docked in this nearby harbor. Lynette's daughter Carly Aylesworth questioning her stepfather's account, telling us in part, "I hope this was just a freak accident, but I just have a hard time believing it at the moment." Carly also shedding light into what she says was the couple's volatile relationship, especially when they were drinking. Her suspicions now amplified.
Carly, do you believe this was an accident?
I feel like this was probably pre-planned, if anything. Like, it doesn't seem like just some accident.
Mr. Hooker's attorney says he rejects the claims made by Aylesworth and categorically and unequivocally denies any wrongdoing.
Yeah, and Brian Hooker's attorney tells us his mind state right now is very fragile and wants nothing more than to be back out on these waters searching for his wife, but also throws into question that timeline for when he might be questioned, which could decide whether any charges are brought or whether he's set free. Savannah?
All right, George, thank you so much.
Now to an NBC News exclusive centered on those escalating tensions between the White House and Cuba. President Trump has warned the island nation could face U.S. military action. For months now, his administration has choked off the island's oil supply and threatened tariffs on any country that tries to sell them oil. Well, the embargo has led to nationwide blackouts as well as a crippling economic and humanitarian crisis. Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker sat down for an exclusive interview with Cuba's president and joins us now. Kristen, good morning.
Good day to you. President Diaz-Canel was defiant when I asked him about President Trump's claim that he can, quote, do anything he wants with Cuba. The president telling me the country is a peaceful nation, but also preparing for the possibility of a military attack. And he said he himself is willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for his country. Of course, the backdrop to all of that, the fact that the Trump administration has ousted the Venezuelan leader as well as killed the supreme leader of Iran. Here's a little bit of what he's had to say. Are you afraid for yourself, for your family, or are you prepared to, as you say, make the ultimate sacrifice if you are attacked?
I have no fear. I am willing to give my life for the revolution. Of course, I wouldn't like that to be the attitude of the U.S. government. I think the American people is a sensitive people, and they wouldn't allow, or they wouldn't see with good eyes that their government, the country, would invade a very small island that does not pose any concern in terms of national security for the United States.
President Diaz-Canel confirmed to me that there are talks underway between the United States and Cuba and that a deal is possible, but he wouldn't commit to any of the key demands the U.S. has historically asked for from Cuba, including releasing political prisoners, holding multi-party elections, as well as establishing a free press. And when I asked him if he would step down to save his country, President Diaz-Canel was defiant again, saying he will never step down unless the people of Cuba want him to. Back to you.
All right, Kristen, thank you. And more coming up this weekend on Meet the Press. We're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with President Trump's signature tax law. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us now with the latest headlines. Julie, good morning.
Joe, good morning. Good to see you again. Let's start with that law because it's the one Republicans passed last summer, and many Americans are benefiting from it. You may have noticed your tax refund went up this year, and the upper middle class saw some of the biggest savings. There's a change, for example, that allows households to deduct more of their state and local taxes, benefiting people who live in places like New York and New Jersey. And a central piece of the law is no tax on tips, no tax on overtime or Social Security. If it sounds familiar, that's because it's something the president frequently touts, from the campaign trail to his time in the White House, as a major success of his second term so far. But for some groups, including railroad workers, truck drivers, and other middle-income households, the benefits aren't as high as expected. For example, the Social Security deduction excludes high earners, but also very low-income Americans. And the tips deduction is capped at $25,000, even for couples who both work tip-based jobs. The White House, though, is defending the benefits of the law. And ending here in D.C., yesterday, Republicans in the Capitol blocked a Democratic effort to bring an end to President Trump's war with Iran. The House and Senate are still out for the Easter recess. But after the president's threat to annihilate the entire Iranian civilization earlier this week, Democrats and even a handful of conservatives outside of the Hill are pushing back, even suggesting Trump must be impeached, and urging Vice President J.D. Vance to invoke the 25th Amendment, which allows the VP to declare a president unable to serve. And that is a look at what is making news in politics this morning.
All right, coming up, America's fight against inflation is back in the spotlight this morning. So after the break, we're going to dig into some brand new numbers from the Trump administration and how the ongoing war with Iran is impacting the price tags across the board. We're going to watch your bottom line next. We are back with some breaking economic data. The March inflation numbers are out. It's the first report to really reflect the war with Iran. Inflation rose by 0.9% month over month and 3.3% year over year. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung joins us now from the big board with more on what these figures mean. So, Brian, let's look at the big picture there. 3.3, it's a high number, but I guess it was maybe expected because of gas prices. Walk us through the number.
Yeah, as you point out, this is the first inflation report that we've gotten that shows prices in America after the war with Iran began. Again, what we're talking about is the month of March. And on a yearly basis, prices in this country rose by 3.3%. That is a lot hotter than the 2.4% that we saw in February. Again, what we're talking about is a year-over-year period, so March of last year to March of this year. And a lot of that, understandably, was because of higher gasoline prices. But I should point out, economists were expecting this. They knew that this would reflect the impact of the war, so 3.3% was about in line with expectations. But you have to zoom out and see that was a 0.9% jump in the pace of inflation in this country between February and March. And I should also point out this 3.3% figure, that is the largest that we've seen on the inflation print since 2022, Joe.
All right. So what is it like when we break it down by category?
Yeah, so when we break it down by category, again, where we saw the biggest jump was in energy, where prices rose by 10.9%. And what's interesting is that what we're talking about here are monthly changes. We were just showing you yearly changes. Now we're talking about what happened between February and March. So in 1 month alone, energy costs went up by almost 11%. A lot of that was gasoline prices, which rose by over 20%. Staggering to think about those numbers in just 1 month. But food prices, interestingly, they went sideways. They were basically unchanged between February and March. So we're not seeing the pass-through of the effect of this war onto food, with a big caveat, which I'll explain later. But I do want to get to shelter costs. This is the biggest cost for most Americans, basically in line, 0.3%. That's keeping in pace with the 0.2%. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but again, this is the biggest expenditure for most Americans. But with the food prices, again, there's a worry that if this war is prolonged, that would be reflected in later reports. And I should also point out, again, this is covering the month of March, not April, where that's when gas prices rose above $4 a gallon on a national average, which means that this report doesn't even show the full brunt of the impact of this war.
Yeah, so look, what have gas prices done since the start of the war? And this ceasefire we have right now, incredibly fragile, but could it mean we see those prices go down anytime soon?
Yeah, well, look, the story is that gas prices have been blowing well through $4 a gallon and actually crossed that mark March 31st, going into April 1, which also explains to you why this report may not have captured all of that, because this is a March report, not an April report. But when it comes to the story, obviously the last few days there's been the developments on that ceasefire, an albeit shaky one. But if that does hold, that should in theory resort to lead us to lower gas prices. And in fact, Gas Buddy says we could go below $4 within a week or two. But again, we won't then see the impact of that until the April report, which we'll get about a month from now.
Yeah, and we don't, I guess, need a report to see the gas prices. We just drive on by, look at the sign, and we know where they are. That's Brian, right. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
More proposed price hikes, this time coming from the Postal Service. NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal has your Money Minute. Allie, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. More pressure is building at USPS. The agency says it's proposing a hike in stamp prices to 82 cents, up from 78, as it tries to stay afloat during what it describes as a, quote, severe financial crisis. The increase still needs approval from the Postal Regulatory Commission, but comes as USPS warns it could run out of cash within months without major reforms. And it's not just prices here. USPS has also started halting some pension payments temporarily as it works to stay liquid. And in ticketing, a crackdown on hidden fees. StubHub will pay $10 million to settle charges from the Federal Trade Commission that it failed to clearly disclose full ticket prices, including mandatory fees. The company says it disagrees with the claims, but will refund some customers as regulators push for more transparency around what you're actually paying. And finally, a peek inside your medicine cabinet. Amazon is expanding into prescription delivery, now offering same-day shipping for a new weight loss pill from Eli Lilly. The drug can cost as little as $25 a month with insurance as companies race to make these high-demand treatments easier to access. It also comes as Amazon continues to double down on healthcare. Remember, the tech giant already runs an online pharmacy along with One Medical clinics across the country. Joe?
All right, Allie, thank you so much. It is Friday, which means it is time for your weekly can't miss list. You've got to look at all the movies and shows that you need to see this weekend. Joining us this week, NBC New York digital reporter, friend of the show, Kay Ingram. Good to have you with us,
Great
Kay.
to be here, Joe.
Let's start with the theater. Even though it's going to be nice on the East Coast, you might want to be outside. But we've got Beast, you got Russell Crowe, and a cast of people, a retired MMA fighter who has to return to the cage to fight again.
He's back. He's back. All heavy
It's not
hitters.
Gladiator.
Right. Different kind of fight.
Yeah.
A different kind of fight. He is back. No, this one's really exciting. I'm excited about it, right? It's beast mode, though it's called Beast, but you really get the vibe from the trailer. You've got this retired MMA fighter who is pulled back into the underground world of fighting, all to save his brother. Maybe he saves himself a little bit along the way, and so, one of those.
That should be the tagline for the movie.
I'll give it to him for free. But yes, it should be great in theaters this weekend.
All right, on the flip side, you got You, Me, and Tuscany. We got Halle Bailey, Regé-Jean Page returning. He's kind of not been in a ton of stuff since the Bridgerton season 1 days. This one's getting some pretty good reviews, too.
It is, and so, no, hasn't been in Bridgerton, but we do get a shirtless scene. There is
go.
a moment there. And so this is essentially what happens when love collides with a past flame and maybe a new flame.
Okay.
And so it's in one of the most beautiful places in the world. It is in Italy. I know you'd been earlier this year,
Yes.
so maybe you can speak to some of that, but it's gorgeous backdrop. It's feel good. It's love. It's funny. It's great.
All right, I kept my shirt on when I was in Italy. So, all right, staying in the Italian countryside, A Taste for Murder. It's described as a cozy crime drama from our friends at BritBox. What should we know about this?
Yes, well, maybe the cozy is because the food's involved,
There we go.
right?
Right, exactly.
So you've got crime, but it's a little less intense from what you're probably expecting or used to when we think of a crime series. But it is a lot of flavor. So, you've got this detective, you've got folks who are trying to figure out these different murder mysteries. And so it's that fun recipe of what happens when you mix it all together. And so you get to watch it over the few episodes.
So if you like cooking shows and you like real crime drama, you just put them all together, and this is just for you. All right.
Top Chef goes right.
Exactly. All right. My favorite thing, the thing I'm looking forward to most that I will be watching this weekend,
Yay.
Hacks is back. This is, I believe, is really going to be the final season. Is that right?
We'll see.
Yeah.
I know Ariana, our producer, who loves this show. Maybe she's hoping it's not the final, but as far as we know, the 5th and final season. Of course, if you don't know about the show, it's about what happens when old school comedy mixes together with a new generation. And yeah, I can't believe it. It's ending. You've got Deborah Vance, Hannah Einbinder, and it is just so funny, so good. And I can't believe we're saying goodbye. It all wraps up, if you can believe it. 10 episodes we're getting.
Got it. And it's HBO, which means they'll release them week by week by week, so you won't get it all at once. And Gene Smart will probably win another Emmy. We can predict that right now. All right. Speaking of streaming, we've got The Miniature Wife. That's on Peacock. Elizabeth Banks, Matthew McFadden. I feel like I'm thinking of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but maybe not. I don't know.
Honey, I Shrunk My Wife.
Well, there you go. There you go. Walk us through what this one's all about.
Yeah, so that was a great callback. I love that. So you've got Elizabeth Banks, and essentially we see this couple quite literally shrink. And so it's playing to the different power dynamics of power, of connection. There's this element where an experiment goes wrong, as you can tell, and Elizabeth Banks, she gets smaller, and the two are left to figure it out. But it's again, a great time, and that's on Peacock. So
that dollhouse looks nice and cozy. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, excuse me, give me the dollhouse. Why not?
The bed might not be a real mattress, but that's okay. All right. Finally, Dan Levy is back. Quirky new show on Netflix. It's called Big Mistake. Different from Schitt's Creek, he plays a minister who gets in with the mob. How does that happen?
Hello. Okay, well, sometimes, Joe, as you might know, I think we can all relate, sometimes life doesn't go as planned.
Yeah.
And so here's a family that is really caught up in all of that. We've got some chase scenes, we've got some funny moments. I mean, it is Dan Levy, one of the co-creators of Schitt's Creek, is behind this. And so it's funny, it's hysterical. It's about a family just trying to figure it out. Yeah, priest mob, who knew? But it should be a good time. And that's streaming on Netflix.
All right, very good, Kate. Good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.